everybody, and welcome back to the Leeds Lens for your Leeds United 1, Sunderland 1 match reaction. And like we always say, away from home so far this season, I think the underlying statement here for Leeds is, if you aren't going to win it, don't lose it. And I think earlier in the season, we look at the sort of things that earlier in the season Leeds United were doing wrong. We were losing them games earlier in the season, especially going 1-0 down, especially when we know how well at times Sunderland managed the game. I watched Sunderland play against Newcastle a few weeks ago in a game where they went 1-0 up. It was there was nothing in the game, no chances. They get 1-0 up and Regis just completely kills the game and kills any sort of momentum Newcastle had in the game, and nothing happened. But Leeds United did better than that. Leeds United in the second half were fantastic. In fact, I would argue, outside the last 10 minutes, where naturally it's a situation, as I said, where if you're not going to win it, don't lose it. I thought Leeds United were much the better team in the second half, and I actually felt, to be honest with you, I come out almost slightly disappointed because I feel like we could have won that game. We really, really could have won that game. And almost it felt a bit like last season where they go 1-0 up in the game. I thought they came out in the first 20 minutes and were fantastic. I've written my notes that in the first... I'm a bit low again. But I've written my notes that in the first 20 minutes, I looked at someone and thought, God, these are a good team. I can see why they are where they are in the league. But, as I said, when Leeds United got to grips with the game, and actually, truthfully, when Roden went off and we switched that 4-3-3 system, Leeds United were really good. Leeds United were really good. And actually, we've talked about the 5-back and how we want to play the 5-back. Is the 4-back coming back into contention again, people? I think that's something that we've got to look at now, because the truth of the matter is, in the last few away games, especially, like you look at the Brentford game, we're in a 5-back, we end up going 1-0 down, we switch to a 4-back, and we're dominant probably from then to the end of the game. And again, the same today, but actually, obviously, the switch came earlier because of the Roden injury as well. But as I said, lots of good performances today. And actually, in the second half, for me especially, I thought the midfield was just... outrageously good. Not in terms of just in terms of bullying and pure aggression and pure tenacity. And everything that this Leeds United team, I think, has in massive detail and massive quality. I thought that was showed in the second half because I thought we just bullied them in the midfield. Obviously, they're missing a few. They're missing Diarra in there. They're missing Sadiq in. Maybe them two playing might have been a different game, but they aren't. And you play what's in front of you. And we've had a lot of times this season, I feel like, where we've played teams when they're at the best. And actually today, to be fair, I think we played a Sunderland team that weren't at the best. Obviously, having coming off that fantastic result against Newcastle in the most recent game as well. Anyway, let's get into some of your guys' comments, if there are any. Let me have a look. Let me go grab them. Where are they? I've got so many things up at the moment. There we are. I'll take a point there, Scott. Encouraging performance. Yep, could have won that. Ollie on Tour says, hi, Scott. Not been on for a few weeks now. Yeah, nice to see you back in the chat, Ollie. Nice to see you back in the chat. Hope you've had a good Christmas. I have, mate. Good result today, but we should have won it. However, bringing on Nemecha killed our momentum. Had to be Nonto for Okafor, in my opinion. That's an interesting comment, actually, because I agree, actually. I think Okafor coming out of this, and my dad, obviously, who I watched the game with, was very critical of Okafor. But I think Okafor offers a lot to this Leeds United team. I really do. I think he offers a bit of dynamism. I think he's creative. I think he's he gets the ball and you get excited. Yes, I think at times today, I thought his final decision making and final ball wasn't quite there, but he makes stuff happen. I like players that are live wire and run at people and are aggressive and and take people on. I think that's exactly what we're tuning to football for. And Okafor is that in abundance, really. My only thing with that, though, is that when Nonto came on, I thought it was awful. I thought it was absolutely... I mean, he wasn't on for very long. He was on for 10 minutes, but he was absolutely rubbish, in my opinion. He was absolutely rubbish when he came on. I mean, they could have got down on the right-hand side, but yeah. I'm on with you, mate, Dylan. He couldn't watch the last 10 minutes. Laughing, that's funny, to be fair. But yeah. As I said, I must admit, though, when I saw the lineups at the start, and I wanted to get into this sort of in the match reaction and sort of talk a bit through, because when I saw that Sunderland lineup today, I actually looked at it and was very positive, because I looked at it and thought, do you know what it is? That isn't... when we obviously play really good teams week in, week out in the Premier League, but actually I looked at that Sunderland team at the start of it and thought... That's a team we can get at. And I think as I said, the reason for me the 4-3-3 was actually so effective in this particular game was actually we could actually go blow for blow with Sunderland in this one, because we weren't actually the worst team. We weren't actually the worst team on the pitch at all in terms of calibre of player. And that will happen very rare. That will happen for me quite rarely in the season. I think when you're playing Burnley's, Wolves, Sunderland in that sort of Sunderland, them, not many times. But actually, I do think that that we could actually go at them, and I think that's what you saw in the second half. Nonto against Hume on a booking could have been good for the last 20 minutes. I didn't see the point of Nemecha. Well, I thought when he brought Nemecha on, truthfully, that it was going to bring him on for DCL, and obviously eventually kind of did in terms of Nonto came on for DCL. But I think he wanted to see if you could add the physical presence of a Nemecha and a DCL up there and see if we could sort of just like win a second ball or something with the two big men up front. But it wasn't quite effective. Aronson gets his props for me, man of the match for me today. I wouldn't say that, mate. I thought it was decent, but I wouldn't say that. I thought Tanaka, when he came on, was fantastic. As I said, I thought Ampadu in the second half, especially a few misplaced passes at times, but I thought he was really good. Stack, as I said, was really good as well. I thought there was a lot of good performances, because to put a performance like that away from home against a team who haven't been beaten away from home and have beaten a lot of the big teams. This is a team that have drawn with Arsenal very recently at home as well. They're not a bad team at all. I think it was good. Calvert-Lewin's picked up some right form. For me, he's been up until his first goal and he's found his scoring boots. Yeah, he has, Aaron. He has. He's definitely added. He's adding a lot into the team at this moment in time. But other thing I want to mention is, and I think this is probably not mentioned enough, I think Farke deserves a lot of credit again today. I do, because for me, when Rodon goes down injured, I'm really worried, because I'm thinking it's either going to be Justin or it's going to be Bornau that comes on, and they're the ones that are going to replace sort of Rodon at the back. And I thought obviously we should stick with the 5 back at that moment, and he made a big call at that moment. He made a big call to go to the 4-3-3, and he was right. And I think a lot of us in the chat and a lot of us online wouldn't have agreed with that decision at the time. But sometimes you've got to give credit where credit's due. When something works and he does something different that against the grain and it works, it deserves huge credit. He put Aronson on the right. That scores the second goal, the second goal in the game, obviously, in the goal for Leeds United. And I must admit, by the way, as well, that goal that we scored today is probably the best goal we've scored this season. Maybe the best goal we've scored in a few years. I thought that goal was an unbelievable work to goal. All the way from Perry, all the way through to a tap-in from Calvert-Lewin. It wasn't really a tap-in, but obviously inside the 6-yard box and a flicker to the far corner. It was a fantastic goal. A complete team goal. And as I said, when we talk about, I've been quite critical on this channel of the level of the team in terms of what this team can actually do on the ball. But they proved me wrong with that exact moment, because that when it all works together, honestly, it was a sensational goal. The ball comes out from Perry, goes into Strauch, goes into Goodmanson, then it goes into midfield. I can't remember who got it. Then it goes out to Okafor, who does a really nice flick into Stack. Then Stack plays an unbelievable pass out to Aronson. Aronson ball in, and a first-time finish from Calvert-Lewin. It really was sensation. I'm just hoping, by the way, when we talk about obviously earlier in terms of Rodon, that he is actually going to be okay moving forward, because he's a huge player for Leeds United. He's a huge player in terms of where he can actually, in terms of he's got to play a bit of right back role like we saw against Palace, but also he's one of our better players this season. He's someone that's definitely made that step up from the Championship to the Premier League and produced some really good form, and he's so consistent. So I was really worried when he went off, but actually we did prove that we can work without him. But let's hope that's not too serious. PSF says, let's face it, most of us were wrong about DCL. He's a Leeds living legend now. I know, I agree with you, mate, and we need a song about him, don't we? I know we've got all that, I'll give it to Calvert-Lewin as obviously the Christmas song, but we need an actual song for Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I mean, he's proving me wrong. I did a video when we first signed him, talking about sort of the fact that his injury record is a problem, and I still worry about that. Like, I think the reason he comes off on 85 minutes is, again, to make sure he don't get injured. So let's touch wood that doesn't happen. But if he stays fit, then we have made, that's probably the sign of the season for us, especially in terms of what he can bring to the team, and what he's been doing. Because again, if we're being honest, Aronson should score in the first half from a Dominic Calvert-Lewin really good flick. And then we've also obviously got the goal that he scores. And again, he's for me, he didn't have tons of chances today, but his all-round game, his hold-up play is brilliant. And as I said, when he got his chance, he took his finish really well. And to be honest with you, he's probably our best player, if we're being totally honest, Calvert-Lewin, especially in terms of this style. And I think when we look at, as I said, why the form has come from Calvert-Lewin and why he's become this better player that we've seen this season, I think we play perfectly to him. I think I was talking to an Everton fan yesterday about it, and he was basically saying that, look, they've got likes of Ndai, Grealish, Dewsbury Hall, all these really technically gifted footballers. Leeds United probably don't have that much quality in terms of them three positions. So you can't, when you've got players like that, you can't really play always to Calvert-Lewin's strengths, because you're also playing to Grealish's strengths, to Ndai's strengths, etc. Whereas actually for Leeds, we were perfect for Calvert-Lewin because we play identical to his strengths. The only thing we need to do more for him, in my opinion, I'll always say this, is we need to put more balls in the box. We need to put more balls in the box because when he gets chances, and even when we get knockdowns off Calvert-Lewin, like we saw the knockdowns I said for the first half for Aronson, every time he's got any sort of service in and around the penalty area, he's so dangerous. And as I said, he was really good today again, Calvert-Lewin. And as I said, he's probably our best player at this moment, and the form he's on is just sensational. And what a difference it is to have a striker that's scoring goals. It's such a benefit for the team, it really is. Day says, good point, but we could have won it. Agreed. D-Cell was brilliant. All 11 players touched the ball for the equaliser. Mate, as I said, that is the... If you want Farke ball, do you know what we used to clip up Bielsa ball, some of the goals we scored? That is Farke ball. That was an unbelievable goal. It really was. Completely from back to front, playing through something that I didn't think we could play through. As I said, I've talked about enough. I didn't think we could play it through. But yeah, fantastic. Anyway, that is the video today, but there will be a closing whistle this evening. And if you've watched the channel before, you know closing whistle, we do it all in more detail. This is like a quick instant match reaction and stuff. But as I said, stick around at 8 PM when we'll talk through this in much more detail. I'll get the tactics board out and we'll have a bit of talk about sort of different, how it changed and what sort of system we changed in the second half and what we learned from the game as well. Because fundamentally, by the way, and we'll talk about this as well, what a weekend it's been with West Ham dropping points to Fulham. Who thought that was going to happen? Not me. Maybe I was stupid to think that, but I did not think West Ham would drop points. So Leeds United actually coming out the weekend when we've got Sunderland away and they've got Fulham at home and we come out an extra point ahead, which now makes that gap 7 points. Fantastic weekend for us. Really is. So long may that continue. But as I said, we'll talk about all that in the closing whistle. So definitely tune in for that. But I will see you later, everybody. Bye for now.